Everyone, I'm Dean Obidala. Welcome to tonight's Dean Obidala Show on SiriusXM channel 127, Monday, March 29th. As always, I'm here to be your MBFF. Hope you had a good weekend. Now the work starts. And today was the opening arguments in the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. And it's going to be emotional. It's going to take weeks, this trial. It could be a month before we get a verdict, if not longer, maybe a little less. We'll see how things play out. Very, very long trial. Today we're opening statements. And just a few key facts here. But I have to say this at the outset. If Derek Chauvin and his actions in regards to George Floyd, by putting his knee on his throat for over 9 minutes and killing him, is not a crime, then nothing's a crime. Our criminal justice system is a farce. Nothing should be illegal if what Derek Chauvin did was legal. And while I'm sure you know the facts of the case, the prosecutor today in the opening statement tried to highlight a few more, but it's so heartbreaking when you see how short a period of time this was that George Floyd interacted with the police. On May 25th, 2020, the police were called because Mr. Floyd allegedly had passed a $20 counterfeit bill. That's why they were called. Not called because of threats or violence or weapons. No, because he had passed a $20 counterfeit bill was the allegation. Within 17 minutes of the police arriving, 17 minutes, Mr. Floyd was on the street of Minneapolis unresponsive. He would die an hour later. 17 minutes was the entire interaction with the police, which in essence took Mr. Floyd's life. Now Derek Chauvin is facing 3 charges in state court in Minneapolis: second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. And yes, it's clear the state has the burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt one of those 3 charges to convict Derek Chauvin. We already know what the defense is going to do. They began putting Mr. Floyd on trial today and smearing him, starting to say that he had underlying health conditions. So it couldn't have been the police officer that killed him. He had heart disease and other issues going on. Just so it's clear for everyone, under Minnesota law, in this case, all under Minnesota law because it's state crimes, the key, the burden of proof for the prosecutor is to show substantial factor in causing Mr. Floyd's death. Actually, the full term is substantial causal factor, but substantial factor in a layperson's understanding of this whole thing. So it's clear for us that Derek Chauvin's actions by putting his knee on the back of Mr. Floyd for over 9 minutes now, as the prosecutor said, not 8 minutes and 40-something seconds, but over 9 minutes, was that a substantial factor in causing Mr. Floyd's death? And there's no other common sense answer but yes. The defense will bring experts and the state will bring experts. The jury will ultimately decide. Was what Derek Chauvin did a substantial factor in causing Mr. Floyd's death? Did Mr. Floyd have some kind of pre-existing heart conditions and pulmonary conditions? Was he on fentanyl? Yeah, but would he have died but for having a knee on his throat for 9 minutes? Of course not. He was living his life. He would have lived for years more. No, that was a substantial factor in killing George Floyd. In fact, it's the only factor, but that's not the obligation of the prosecution. Substantial factor in proving it. I will say this, though, to give people some context about Minnesota. There's only been one police officer convicted for murder in the line of duty in the history of the state. One. Happened in 2019. It's when police officer Muhammad Noor was convicted of shooting a woman. Muhammad Noor is a Somali-American Muslim man. He's black. The only person ever convicted of murder in the line of duty of the police force in Minnesota, to reframe it more accurately, was a black man who killed a white woman. No white police officer has ever been convicted in Minnesota for killing a black person, or any person for that matter. This is going to have to break through that glass ceiling. That's how hard this is. And again, if Derek Chauvin is not convicted, our legal system, it's already a criminal injustice system. It's a farce. It's a joke because you know what? Nobody is safe. Black people, brown people, not even white people. If a police officer can put his knee on someone for 9 minutes while that man pleads for his life and says, "I can't breathe," and literally calls out for his mother, and bystanders are so alarmed they videotape it, and they call to the police, "You're killing him. Stop what you're doing." And that officer can still keep his knee on the man for 9 minutes in broad daylight in the streets of Minneapolis and put his hands in his pocket like Derek Chauvin and never take his sunglasses off and kill him, nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. That's the stakes of this trial. It's justice for the Floyd family. It's also to keep us all safe, because every police officer around the country will get the idea that they can kill any of us at any moment. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm not saying they want to do that. But in the question of one way or the other, they could do that. We can't have that. The criminal justice system is not about just prosecuting us and protecting the police. Same for all. Police are charged to protect and serve. Our criminal justice applies to them in the sense it's punish and deter. You punish a wrongdoer to deter others from doing the same misconduct. If Derek Chauvin is not convicted of at least manslaughter in this, what message that sends to police officers around the country when dealing with another black person or a brown person or even a white person? Because the police do kill a lot of white people. They kill black people 3-1 to white people, but they kill a good number of white people as well. What's the message? He has to be convicted. We'll talk about that more in my show in more detail. I'll play some clips of the opening statement. I thought it was a really good job today done, and some clips of George Floyd's brother, who was on the Today Show earlier today. My show is live 6 to 9 p.m. on Sirius XM channel 127. If you don't subscribe to Sirius XM, here's my tip. Go to the website, SiriusXM.com. There are free trials. Listen to my show. It's also like free music and other great shows on it. But listen to my show and be a part of our family. We got so much work to do, my friends. If you want progress, stay active. Thanks for tuning into the preview of tonight's Dino Budala Show.